Hey guys, Darren here from Darren Empire. Today is another episode of Witch Baby Wednesday. So I'm just recording this on my phone right now. I don't really have much time. Today actually is Wednesday, the day that I'm posting this. And so I don't really have time to do all like the editing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty much just going to be putting this up. But better than not having one at all, right? So today I want to talk about magic. I want to talk about what magic is. I want to talk about sort of giving you tips for how to use it, how to access it. Yeah, all that stuff. And of course, when I say magic, I'm talking about magic with a K, witchcraft magic. So if you are interested in hearing all about that, keep on watching. All right, guys, so I did a meditation today and I was shown what magic is in my meditation. And so I do want to preface this first with saying that Witch Baby Wednesdays is all about me journeying, that's not a word, journeying into witchcraft. And so I have been practicing as a witch only for about 10 months now. And I mean, like, the very beginning stages was 10 months ago when I just started learning about witchcraft. And so this is me sharing my own personal experience. I, of course, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I have a background as a spiritual coach. So I already know the spirituality of all of the concepts that we would dig into as it pertains to witchcraft. But I think that what magic is something that I have yet to have seen any witches go into deeply in witchcraft books, just my own personal experience. I would love it if you know some books that go deep into what magic really is and where it comes from and how to really access it and use it. Of course, we're always learning how to use magic, but I think that you really need to know what magic is. I think that simply saying that magic is, can be found in nature, or it's, love or whatever, like, I don't know. I feel like I need to go a little bit deeper into it. I need to understand it a little bit deeper. And so I want to share my own personal experience of magic. So please know that I don't speak for other witches. I'm sure that a lot of witches would agree with me though. And I also would love to see, if you are a witch, what magic is to you. Of course, if you're new here, subscribe to this channel. And of course, I'm gonna start sweating in this jacket because I thought it was a grand idea to start filming with a freaking leather jacket on. I know, I just stripped me away of my coolness, but that's all right. You saw me cool for like a second, so, Anyway, so what is magic? Oh my gosh. If I'm going to talk about magic, I need to talk about how to access magic. And the way to access magic is the same way you access anything, especially, so for those of you who listen to Abe Hicks, my followers who, we all know about the law of attraction. A lot of you that follow me are empaths. When you want something, when you're trying to manifest something, what do you have to do? You have to energetically, vibrationally tune into it. So magic, something my intuition has helped me to realize, is that magic is something that you tune into. So it's really important to understand that magic is constantly all around us, that everything is all around us, right? That we have access to things that we can't see, that there are things going on that the human eye, but not even just the human eye, the untrained eye can't see. I would say the majority of the societal norm would be that people can't see a lot of magic, that people can't see the things that are going on beyond, and not even beyond. I don't want people to think that magic is this unattainable thing, that it's beyond something, that you have to go to some special place, because the truth is it's all right here. So if I could describe what magic is, I would tell you that magic is much like God. Magic is sort of a more tangible, creative energy that comes to me, I would say comes from God, comes from Yahweh, the all isness, the all oneness, the creator, the creative energy of everything. I would call that magic, but that everything has this palpable energy, that there's a soul to everything. But it's more than that. It's more like it's an energy where you can change things with the energy, right? It's an alchemical energy where you can actually create alchemy. You can turn something, like if I can tune into the energy of magic and I can harness that energy and then direct that energy of magic into something else, I can transform that thing that I'm directing the energy towards, right? So I would say that magic is an aspect of God. I don't think it's just God. I wouldn't say that magic is just God. Of course it is. It's like God is magic, but also that magic is more just a portion. Just like I would say, I am God, you are God, we are all God, but that I don't make up all of God, right? Like it kind of feels the same with that. So I feel like I am a magical being. You are a magical being. You know, when there's so many things, nature, there's so many things that are magical. Even when you think about even inanimate objects, like this table that this phone is on right now is made out of wood. So it has this magical property because the tree from whence it came had that magic, that enchanted, palpable energy. And so when we tune into it, here's how it works. I would describe tuning into magic the same way, for those of you coming from more of a spiritual background and not really understanding the magical background, I would say it's the same as choosing to see the world through the eyes of God. It's the same as being so present in the moment, like A Course in Miracles talks about, no longer projecting your own preconceived notions about things and releasing all of your preconceived notions about what you think a thing is, and allowing that thing, the true essence in this particular moment in time, to shine through. I would describe that pure, unadulterated energy as magic. So the analogy that came through to me is, think about processed food, right? So when you have an organic item, so let's say if I use organic coconut oil, organic, unrefined, virgin coconut oil, it works, right? So like if you've used that versus a processed, you will realize that when the coconut oil has been processed and processed and processed, it loses its nutritional value. When it loses its magic, it loses its ability to actually heal the way they say coconut oil claims to heal certain things. It works when it's in its organic form. But once you start to process it, same with foods, once you start to process foods, if they start to lose their power, they lose their power, they lose their magical properties. So look at that process, the processing of food, the same way your thoughts project or filter what something actually is, right? So I could be looking at an object. Let's see, here's an apple. Just happen to have an apple right here. Here's an apple. I could look at this and I could say, oh, it's an apple. I've seen an apple. I've seen a million apples. It's just an apple. It's an apple. So by me saying in my mind, I've seen a million apples before, I'm projecting. That's me. That's the process. That's me processing this particular apple, which I'm calling it an apple, which the thing it actually is goes beyond its label. I know I'm getting really kind of out there now, but when I don't process it, when I let go of what I think this is, and I just look at it, not knowing, I'm completely in the moment. I'm not projecting any of my ideas onto what this thing is. I don't know what this color is. I don't know what any of this is. I can then actually see it for the first time. See this particular thing for the first time. You can call it an apple, but that limits it. Does that make sense? So when I don't project my own ideas, when I don't process things through the filtration system that is my thoughts about it, I then can actually see the magic in it. So when you practice being able to see the world through the eyes of magic, here's what I would do. I would sit in meditation and I would ask to see the magic in everything, to see the organic truth, the true essence, the soul of everything. When you practice that, what will happen is, well, what should happen is, if you practice it long enough, sometimes it takes a long time, but if you continue to practice that, clear your mindset. It could be something as palpable as you could sit in the middle of a forest, physically walk to the middle of a forest, sit down and meditate and say, I choose to see the magic in everything, or I choose to see everything through the eyes of God. Same thing. To me, it's very similar, and maybe not the exact same thing, but it's a very similar way of describing it. I would close my eyes and ask to see. And then all of a sudden, I could now be in an enchanted forest, to the point where if I've practiced this long enough, I could actually open my eyes and see with my physical eyes. Once I've practiced, it doesn't always happen right away, but once I've practiced really choosing to see the magic in everything, I then could open my eyes and actually, with my physical eyes, see an enchanted forest. See the magic in the trees. I could see a magic glistening off of the trees. I could see a new dimension. I could see the moment of squirrels chasing one another up a tree, and recognize that there are so many magical moments occurring at once, and that the forest is alive. It is enchanted with life. And I really mean that. I really mean being able to see another dimension physically with your eyes. That is magic. So it takes me full circle, because like I said, I did a meditation this morning and it gave me, this is the download that I got from the meditation, but it brought me back to the very first time I had a spiritual awakening, my very first spiritual awakening. Many years ago, many moons ago, almost 10 years ago, it was about 9 years ago now. Actually more, almost 10. Oh my God. I was reading The Power of Now for the first time by Eckhart Tolle. I had sat down and read it for about 2 hours, maybe the first couple of chapters. And I felt very present in that moment. And I was at a friend's house. I drove home. And as I started to drive home, I could see everything. I could see the enchantment, the magic in everything in that moment. I didn't know to describe it that. At that moment, I could physically, with my 2 eyes, see a fourth dimension in the trees. The trees glistened in a way I have never seen trees glisten in my life. Every natural object looked magical. I mean, it looked magical. It glistened. It literally glistened to my physical eyes. It wasn't like I wasn't high. I wasn't having this. It actually was happening in my physical eyes, because I had become so cleared of what I thought anything was that it allowed the true magic to come through. You see, what happens is it's all about our perception of the world. Another perfect example is when I did Spirit Junkie Masterclass with Gabby Bernstein. This was years ago, maybe 5 years ago now. Yeah. About 5 years ago, this was towards the beginning for me of my spiritual life. And she had us connecting with our passed on loved ones. And I connected with my daughter's father, who committed suicide. I've talked about him a gazillion times for the last 5 years here. And so we did a meditation, we connected, and what I was shown in that meditation was that I am in heaven now with my loved ones right now. I just can't see it because of my perception, because I have not tuned into it. Get it? So you have the ability to transform the world you see when you tune into another realm, another dimension of the world that we're already around. So what I want to stress here is that magic, when we say things are beneath, when there's magic beneath things, and that to discover something, like to be a witch and to be on a path of witchcraft and a pagan path, is to discover and seek the unknown and the beyond, and beyond the veil kind of a thing. But I want to stress that is not a place outside of you. It's not even necessarily in you where you got to dig. Like, it's not this unattainable place. It is a matter of choosing, having a desire to see something. You will see it in the world around you. You'll first probably see it in meditation. And it might take a long time before you start seeing it in trees. Don't try to I didn't try to see a fourth dimension in trees. I just did. It just happened. So you definitely can't force anything like that. But if you choose to see the magic in everything, and you have a willingness and an openness, and just say, show me the magic, it's much like, it's actually, it feel like this is a perfect analogy. Is remember those 3D posters or the 3D folders? I remember I had a folder in school where you had to look a certain way and you could see a car in it or something else, but to the naked eye, when you didn't actually search for it, you just saw a bunch of, it would be all this red weirdness. It didn't really look like anything. But when you shifted the way you were looking at it, you saw a car pop out of nowhere. It's exactly like that. So it's like looking at the world around you and saying, there's something I'm not seeing. It's almost like an optical illusion. It's like choosing to see something in a different way. You're not looking at anything different. You're still looking at the exact same thing, but you're choosing to change the way, your perception of it, and you're getting the ability to see something. It opens up a whole new world in that moment. When you were able to see that car, you were like, what? That's so cool, So it works the same with the world around you, but you have to remove your preconceived notions about the world in order to start to see the magic in the world. Now, cool thing is about magic that you don't actually have to attune yourself that much to magic in order to use it. You can use magic just like I can pray to heaven, and I can, or whatever you consider to be heaven or not, but I can pray to the angels and not feel high vibe and still get an answer to my prayers. Do you know what I mean? I don't actually have to necessarily attune myself to it, but when we practice tuning ourselves to magic, tune yourself into the magic. Tune yourself to the magic. When you practice that, it is such a fulfilling way to live. Why wouldn't you want? If there was this optical illusion of magic, except maybe the truth is that what we see in front of us is really the illusion and the magic is really the truth, And we've just trained our brain to see the physical world more. But I promise you, when you practice, now maybe it's not going to come through the way it's come through for me, where it almost is like the trees looked like they were in high def. and I remember I would almost get in accidents very often because I would drive and I would just be like staring at trees. I was so in awe. Like, I'm like, do you guys see that? That looks, and I don't smoke weed, so I don't do drugs. And I definitely was clean then too, because I think I was even sober of alcohol at that point. But I was so in awe. And like, that's the purpose of a spiritual path. I can't tell you how many times like I've interviewed a lot of spiritual people on my like podcasts and, you know, in a lot of things that I've done. And I realized that there's a lot of people on a spiritual path, even teaching spirituality, that have never had an experience like that, like I just described. And I'm like, well, then what do you think a spiritual awakening is? In my mind, I'm like, what is a spiritual awakening to you? Because in that moment, I was woker than I ever been woke. Like, I was woke. I felt like I woke up out of a 24-year sleep at that moment. And I was like, I was in a new dimension. That was it. I was in a new dimension. And I didn't travel anywhere. I didn't physically go anywhere. My mind opened up. My mind tuned itself to the true essence of everything in this particular moment. And so I was then able to see a magical world. I mean, even like the man-made things. I remember driving by. I will never forget. This was my spiritual awakening. I will never forget it. I remember I was driving up a hill, and up this hill, it was like a little bridge, and there was a tree up here, and there was a stop sign right here. And I remember looking at the stop sign. And in that moment, I could feel nothing but, I felt appreciation for the people who made the stop sign and for the work that they put in to create that stop sign for my safety and for the safety of all of the people that drive on the street. I mean, I could see, it was like everything was pulsating. There was just this energy, just palpable, pulsating off of everything. And then I saw that tree. And it was like, I was I probably was driving 5 miles per hour up this little hill onto this bridge, but it was like, I went into slow motion. And it's almost like, you know, like if you're in a movie and like the kid sees the girl from across the hall and like everything goes into slow motion and she sees her like go like this. Like, it's like this magical moment. It was like that, except it was me in a tree. Which is kind of funny, but it was just like the tree stopped and I was going in slow motion, and the tree itself was a moment. The tree was a moment. If that makes any sense to anybody, I know that this can be super out there for some of you, but the tree was a moment. That energy, when you have tuned yourself in that way, now of course you don't have to tune yourself in that way, like I said, but when you have, you now understand what magic is. And you have a much greater understanding of how to use magic. But that is the truth of everything. Maybe magic is the truth of everything. Maybe that's what magic is. I don't know. But that's how I would describe magic. And how to attune yourself to it. It's definitely, in my opinion, something you have to tune into. Now, in magic, witches will harness the energy of the moon, the sun, the earth, fire, water, you know, all of the elements. The way we do that is we harness the magical energy in it. So in a sense, it's like when you look at an object, there's a humility that comes in saying, show me what you are, rather than I'm going to tell you what you are. It's opening yourself up and saying, I'm open to you showing me what you are. And you have to let go of all of your preconceived notions about what you think that thing is. And that's it. Sometimes like an easier way of doing it for my empaths is just feeling what water feels like to you, or just feeling what the trees feel like to you, or feeling what, just feeling what the moon energy feels like to you, or feeling what the sun feels like to you. Really allowing your body, that energy, to just feel it rather than thinking, right? So you're out of your head in that way. But the whole point is to really get out of your mind and don't allow things to process through your thought system, because it will lose its magical value. It will lose its nutritional value, just as processing food does, right? So think of that analogy when you think about how to access magic. All right, I would love to hear, for all my witch friends and followers, I would love to hear what your way of, your interpretation of magic is. This kind of magic can be found in everything. It can be found in relationships. It can be found in love. It can be found in the connection that you have with people. It can be found in art that you create. It can be found in, it's everywhere. But that exercise, the exercises that I gave here, is how I have tuned into it. Of course, we have a natural attunement to it in many ways, but we've also turned ourselves off to it in many ways as well. And so as the witch, it's sort of your responsibility. Of course, this is your own inflicted responsibility. I'm not here telling you this is your responsibility, but for me as a witch, it's my responsibility to cleanse my mindset and tune back into the truth of what everything is. And that's what we mean by the beyond, going beyond and understanding the deeper meaning of things. It's finding the magic in everything. All right, so enjoy attuning to your magic. Definitely come back, do some of those exercises, and come back and let me know what your experience was, much like my tree experience, my stop sign experience. I would love to know yours, or if you've had any magical experiences in your past of just tuning into what magic is. And also, one last thing, the more you practice it, of course, the more it becomes palpable and something you can really feel with your physical senses and translate and transmute through and with your physical senses. So it's not just like an idea or in your imagination, right? It actually shifts. If you are in, just a little announcement here, if you are in the Philadelphia area, I will be performing musical performance at Latage on 6th Street, South 6th Street, I think. I don't know. But I will be opening up for, I guess I will link tickets below here if you would like to come, if you're in the Philadelphia area, Friday night, March 15th, 2019 at 7 p.m. I'm opening up for my very good friend Danielle Mercurio, who is doing a comedy show called Does This Make Me Look Spiritual? So it will be a fun night filled with laughs and entertainment and music and, of course, magic. All right, guys. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, and I will see you next week. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to connect with me outside of YouTube, head on over to my Instagram to say hello, watch behind the scenes stuff, and check out any special announcements that I might have going on. Now, if you haven't already, head over and watch one of these awesome videos and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next video, guys.
Trace of the